Welcome to Human. I'm here with Echo, better known as Echo Effect, as you
Hi.
say on your YouTube.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
so excited.
I'm so excited to have you here. We are diving into race. It's perfect timing for Black History Month, but we're also going
Absolutely.
to talk about pansexuality and your experience with
Woo.
that and toxic friendships. So many topics we're going into, and I'm so excited.
I'm more than excited. Like I'm ecstatic.
I love it. Okay, so we'll first start talking about race and kind of your personal journey with it,
Yeah, for sure.
especially right now during a time when the Black Lives Matter movement is huge and so important to be educating ourselves on and paying attention to. And
Hmm.
something that you've said in your YouTube videos, which I'd love you to kind of expand on, is saying that being Black is not a tragedy.
Yep, absolutely. So I'm gonna first like elaborate on that thought with the whole idea that when we think about Black people in the media, unfortunately, there's always we get the very dim aspects of Black culture and Black life. A lot of the time, it's behind bars or when like Black people are not like doing the best as they can, and I don't think Black people are represented the way they should be 100% of the time. Because if we focus on everyone's, let's say, like criminal record or like the worst parts about themselves, we never have good news ever. But for some reason, when it comes to Black lives, along with like systematic and systemic racism, everyone's like, you know what? They're not great. And that's a problem. So when I was addressing it in my 12 take care tips for Black people, I wanted everyone to understand that being Black is not a tragedy, meaning that not every like of course we can't always talk about the uplifting things. However, there's more to being Black than just the tragedies that happen to be in some of the people within the community. I find that social media happens to highlight everyone else's good graces, and then when it comes to Black people, it's once in a blue moon. And like I can like if I were to ask any one of my other friends or like work colleagues and coworkers, they would tell me maybe 12 different Black people they know that were like behind bars just recently, but no one that became a scientist and got their degree and like nothing that's actually uplifting. And that's sad to me. And like even movies, for example, like Black movies happen to be, oh, they fall in love, they die, oh, they get shot, oh, there's this. And that's tragedy as a whole. Like I could only name a couple Black movies that have really good happy endings. And that's something I feel like should be brought up a lot more to bring a little bit of balance.
Yeah,
And just
100%.
realism.
Yeah. Wow. And it's crazy. It's so good. I'm so glad we're opening up the conversation about this, especially like on my
Mhm.
platform as well. And having you be able to speak on this is amazing. Because it's true too. When I think about what I scroll through on social media, it's so much about the tragedies that happen and, the police
Yeah.
brutality and the amount of Black people who are imprisoned
Yep.
when it's less celebrated of like, look at these incredible accomplishments that the Black
Yeah.
community has as well.
Absolutely. And it's sad. I feel like it's a part of like not only like my responsibility, but I also feel like especially like let's say Black entrepreneurs, those who are starting their own businesses, and those who are really educated about not only like Black lives but Black history, do their part to like always talk about it and like bring it up because like without it, then like we get no coverage. And like sometimes
Yeah.
like you're the only person that can vouch for yourself, you know?
Yeah, and I'm
Um,
curious how you feel about that. Like, do you feel this
mhm.
responsibility to educate and to speak on this and how that affects you as a person and your mental health as well?
Honestly, when I think about talking about anything towards Black History Month or just being a Black young queer woman, I feel like it's somewhat of an obligation and also a burden at the same time because it's not just my job alone to educate people about the things that they should naturally want to know about and or have a lot of arrogant, ignorant views about. However, even though sometimes it's very taxing and like it's hard to be the only person that has the most education in the room about it or has a really strong opinion about it. I know that without my voice, there's not really a voice.
Yeah.
And at the as much as I do, it's hard to even explain sometimes because I created like say the Black Effect series on my channel to talk about the uplifting parts about being Black and even the tragedies and just ways that we can all heal each other and work together as a community. And I still had to take a break on that towards when George Floyd passed away, or sorry, was murdered, and other like tragedies like that because it just was so hard on the soul to try to be so uplifting in such hard times. And so I try to do a little bit of both. Like I'll make content for it, I'll talk about it, and then I'll take my break so I can like recuperate, because I know it's not just my responsibility to teach everyone. But the least I can do is give people the resources they can to like elevate and continue learning. And if any questions are asked my way, I always feel free to answer them, just on like, my own terms kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. I think
Yeah.
it's really important to set that boundary with yourself and, and I'm sure there does come a lot of joy with sharing about this and having conversations about it and
Absolutely.
making sure change, I hope that you can feel that change when you get to communicate with people about it. But at the same time, I love the video you posted about 12 self-care tips for Black people. And if you want to touch on that and how important it is to, take the time for yourself and, not always feel that burden.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like I feel like especially when I uploaded that video, I did it with my brother, also known as like Fearless on my channel. And we just have like a lot of separate conversations, just like on our like ones, about how we tend to focus so much on the negative that it's hard to focus on the positive. And it's wonderful to acknowledge that there's negativity there. But like I was saying earlier, like it's our responsibility, and almost like we can't forget the positive things that come with being Black as well. So in the video, I just kind of talk about immersing yourself in like our culture, and every Black culture has some sort of like music or food or something, or like movies, and like in like home languages that you can study and learn and embrace yourself in. And those are the positive aspects of culture, and learning history as well, like who invented what and who was there for who, and like I think all of those wonderful things that I don't even talk about everything within that video, just some of the really small little things that you can do to make yourself feel a little better as a Black person going through what I like to call a shift. Because as much as we went through a lot of horrible life-changing things within 2020, I feel like those tragedies led to a big shift in the way people push and change their views towards like fighting for causes like Black Lives Matter, and opening their eyes up a little more. And like, unfortunately, things like Blackout Tuesday happened, but then we were able to sit there with our social media like community and be like, hey, that's not okay. Let's fill Blackout Tuesday with more educational things that we can help, fix police brutality and the ignorance that comes with being a completely different like race and trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like, I guess all in all, like in that video, I kind of just touch about how we can feel better about it, continue educating, but also take the time, like you said, right, to like calm down and recenter ourselves, because it's not always our job as Black people to like educate. Like, we're not being paid for it, so therefore, like it's not necessarily something we have to do, but we are willing to do it because we're the only ones who can, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to sit in a position and know that I will not be able to fully understand the shoes that you're in, but to be able to sit here and have an open conversation about it, and then be able to educate myself as well from what I learn, and be able to open up that conversation in the communities I'm a part of who may not have the same access or openness. I feel like there is a big thing around, oh, I'm scared of saying the wrong thing, or I'm scared of, fucking up or saying something stupid. But I think it's important to open ourselves up to that space, because if we don't, nothing's going to change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And not even just, worrying about saying the wrong things. Because I have a lot of friends of color and just white friends as well who happen to say the same exact, I don't know if this is the right thing to say. I'm not sure if this is going to come off offensive, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like you said, like the only ways to open up those doors is to ask those questions, is to do your research on it, is to understand that if you're saying, I hope this doesn't offend you, before you say it, you probably shouldn't say it. And just like basic stuff like that, because in order to acquire knowledge, you have to ask, and sometimes scary questions revolve around scary answers, but it's the open-mindedness, I guess, and like willingness to try your best to understand, and also like you said, acknowledge that privilege to be like, I'm never gonna fully understand this, but I can sympathize, I can empathize, and I can do something about it, knowing that like privilege carries a whole different voice to when it comes to like these things as well.
Yeah,
It's a very powerful
100%.
thing, privileges.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's a really powerful thing to sit and acknowledge it too. And I think that's
Hmm.
something that I hope is becoming more normalized now, is to be able to, as you know, I educate myself more as a community, everybody is educating themselves more, to sit and be like, no, because of the color of my skin, I have privilege. And recognizing that isn't
Absolutely.
this scary thing. It's something that's going to allow us to, I would think it's so important to have curiosity and be seeking that information.
I
And like,
agree.
it's interesting because this conversation makes me feel like very like expanded and excited about the change that's possible. And I
Hmm.
think that's something that's so incredible. But I'm curious how you cope with when, these conversations aren't always happening, or when you feel like the change won't be made, like racism will be so ingrained in our society for a long time, how you feel about that.
Honestly, there's a lot of points in my life where I felt very defeated and unable to cope. And I found myself like crying a lot about the future and like my future children, and what I'm gonna do to teach them that they can be strong and be able to educate in the same kind of patterns. And at some points, I felt like it was impossible and that it's never gonna happen, and that like I was just made on this earth to like be a very upset Black woman and worry about the things that I can't control. However, I realized staying within that mindset meant that I was also allowing myself to not make change as well, if that
Mm.
makes any sense. And I feel like acknowledging my feelings help my body and my heart and my mind kind of all connect and just be real and say that like this stuff fucking sucks. Like it's horrible and it hurts. But the only way to heal something that's hurting is to open it up, put alcohol on the wound, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
fix and go on to fix it, because end of the day, without speaking about it, it's not gonna be talked about. It's not gonna make our way to fix. Something I feel like I like to address a lot of the time is that I feel like as a society we love to sit down and talk about the issue, but we never really talk about the solutions. This is happening, yet this sucks. Great. How can we fix this? How can we get to this point? And it's because a lot of other people want to argue about what is right and what is wrong. But like end of the day, when a whole entire race is being murdered for the color of their skin, that is not something to be argued against. It's ethically wrong, morally wrong, spiritually wrong. Like it's not something I at least feel like it can be argued against. And when it comes to everything as a whole, I know that I've coped the best with it by allowing myself to just like feel things I need to feel
Mm.
and like pick up the book, turn it to the next page, and continue doing things I need to do to protect myself and also help others just understand. Because most of the time, ignorance comes from like the definition itself, like a lack of understanding.
Yeah.
When we get to arrogance and bigotry, that's a whole different kind of story, because then there's, a little bit of privilege and extended, I don't give a fuck energy. I like to call it. But at the same time, I just feel like some people genuinely do want to learn and they do just need the help to understand and want a little bit of extra help, and that's fine. Um, However, I guess to answer the question, like it's something that I've kind of allowed myself to just, I guess to like re-explain. It's just I know some people just want to have arguments, just want to have conversations about this just so they can hear their voice, just to talk. Um, and I've I've grown to be okay with that, because those who want to make a change will be willing to, and they
Mhm.
won't just like sit there to hear their own voice, essentially, is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, no, that 100%. And I think that even kind of segues well into thinking about friendships and toxic friendships and real friendships that
Absolutely.
are genuine ones, because I think I'm sure that's something you can really notice in friends as well, as the ones who are true and there to support you are there to learn and,
Yep.
have open conversations. And I'm curious if
Absolutely.
you've had experiences with people who, just want to hear their own voice and talk about all the stuff and aren't interested in a different
Yep.
perspective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I feel like everyone can feel that at some point, I feel like even if you're not a toxic friend, you felt that on a genuine, like you've talked to someone and only really wanted to hear your voice, because anger does that to people. We're all human and emotions do flow out in the same ways. If you ask me, I think even the sweetest person has a bit of toxicity within them. I feel like everyone's evolving and everyone's growing, and it takes certain people and energies to help you grow to that certain point. And that unfortunately happens to go that unfortunately happen to be like ringed out through toxic people and situations that we encounter, because sometimes we have to feel certain things in order to move on from them, and other times we have to hear them. So, you know, toxicity comes in different forms in different like ways a lot of the time.
Yeah, wow. And I think it's really powerful to also be like, no, there's some of that in myself too. None of us are perfect. We all have
Absolutely.
our things we have to work through. And I think
Hmm.
it gets easy sometimes to sit in a position of you are pointing at the people around you and blaming that.
Absolutely.
When I think
Hmm.
even thinking about the feelings and the way we react to certain situations or certain people can make us be like, okay, wait,
Absolutely.
this is about me. This actually
Yeah.
isn't as much about them.
No, and you're absolutely right. And I even want to add on to that point, because I feel like even the opposite happens sometimes, where some people happen to go through, let's say, toxic situations and only blame themselves. Like it takes two to tango, you know, and that's not just towards intercourse. Like it happens in real life too. Like essentially what I guess what I'm trying to say is that a lot of the time we either do the opposite, where we blame everyone else, or blame ourselves entirely. And guess what? It's both. And even
Yeah.
if it's 75-25, you know, 80-20, is that math? Yes, 80-20, and stuff like that, it still takes one part to like play in another part. Like, you know, all the pieces of a puzzle make an entire puzzle. So we can't really ever blame one person or even ourselves for certain things, because it's all situational at the
Yeah,
end of the day, in
absolutely.
my opinion, at least.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I completely agree. And I think it's so easy in our society too to take the stance of like it's more simple or the easy way out to just blame one way or the other, but to actually sit
Hmm.
and be like, oh, no, no, no. There's multiple factors contributing to this that we need to like
Absolutely.
digest.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
this is hard work to do too. Like
Oh,
this shit is not
absolutely.
simple. Like this takes like wanting to be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
especially wanting to progress as well, wanting to hear things about yourself that you didn't want to admit as well is a huge thing. Or let's say like losing people in your life that you never thought you'd ever lose, to like feel and understand certain things. Because this, like what I'm going to say now is also kind of, I want to say almost, I guess, controversial, or almost even very situational, I want to say, because it really depends. But sometimes we need bad energy in order to understand the good energy, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of the time, let's talk about, like, let's say relationships. We get into a relationship, we feel super loved and valid and appreciated. That relationship ends. Oh my God, I'm so unlovable. Oh my God, no one cares about me. I'm not going to be able to find anyone else. And those are all the first things that come to mind. But it's, what about how wonderful the memory was? What about how helpful the relationship was for you to help you grow? Even if it was more good than bad or more bad than good, you still gained something from that. And if you can't look at the bigger picture lesson here, and you just keep attacking yourself and or the other person, you're not growing. You're not taking the lesson that like this universe allowed this person to give you into your life. And then people end up going into cycles and cycles, and happens again and again. Oh my gosh, I can't find good friends. Oh my gosh, I keep finding partners that don't care, and I did it. And it's because you people don't take the time to, you know, fix themselves and heal themselves and grow from these lessons. So the universe goes, you know what, baby, you got to do one more time, because
Yeah.
you're not understanding. You gotta do one more time, you know. Like sometimes you miss the yellow brick road because you think it's orange, you think it's red, but baby, it's yellow. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, we gotta figure out ourselves, and sometimes like not even get the answers that we want, like closure, or figure out why certain things have happened, because it's not in our life path to do that.
Yeah.
Like, but what do you think about like toxic friendships in that
I
sense?
fucking love everything you just said. Like, I could not agree more. Like, my favorite thing in the world is when guests come on the podcast and they say like so much amazing shit that by the end of your sentences, I'm like, cool, my job is done. I don't need to
Right,
say
guys, have a
anything.
good night.
Back later. Like, I could not agree more. And I love what you said about like the universe bringing it in again and being
Hmm.
like, no, you didn't listen this time. You're not paying attention. You didn't take away what I needed you to.
Yes.
Here's another.
And
And
that's the
like,
worst, because it feels almost like almost like this roller coaster of this loop to loop over and over and over. And it's just, I know that can be really tiring for some people as well, especially even when it comes to not even just friendships and relationships, but like family shit too.
yeah.
Because then we think that all of a sudden we're targeted, or like that I don't deserve this, and why me? But like, why not you? You know, have like why isn't that the question too? Like why not you? What are we gaining from this? What are we learning? And sometimes it's not even about like, I guess, the people in our life. It's the boundaries that we learn too, like how we set up ourselves, how we communicate, like many different little things get taught besides just like the whole idea of, oh, you have to love yourself. Like what if you don't know how to communicate, and this person that came into your life is teaching you how to communicate, and now you're sitting here like, why me? Well, what'd you do? You didn't communicate, and boom, like, those are the lessons we take away sometimes too.
100%, 100%. And it's just so interesting because it's so easy to get bogged down in like, oh yeah, like why did this like, and there's such a like thing as like, oh, it's another failed talking stage. Oh, another failed talking stage. I had literally was counting. No, it's so funny. I was counting. So like since the past 3 months, I have been on like 7 FaceTime Zoom dates. 7. And I actually and I haven't been on a second date. I've gone on so many first dates. I haven't been on a second date in over a year and a half. Like literally. And I just had a second date last weekend and I have a third this weekend. And I'm like, what am I gonna wear? I have never had to figure. I wear the same thing on every first date. Like every one of them.
That's so funny.
But this also makes me realize it's like getting to a point.
I'm sorry. No, you're just so real, and I love that because that authenticity is really what like makes the lessons work. Like
yeah, and it gets so easy to be like, what the fuck? Why do they all suck? But it's not that. It's every interaction I have with these people are making me be like, oh, that's what I didn't like. Okay, that's what I didn't like, and this is what I prefer, and also getting the confidence to know that within myself and say that and walk away, because sometimes I'll be like, oh, I don't like that thing he did, but like he's like really cute and he like listened to my podcast and he complimented me on it, and it's like no, we can hold a higher standard.
Yes, we don't like bare minimum. We don't applaud fish for swimming. We don't do that.
That is my favorite saying ever. 100%. And I think, and it goes the same with friends, and I think we should be holding our friends and our partners and our family at such a similar standard.
Like never settle, just never settle. Like
no. Basically, and it's like confidence that has to come from within. You need to be fulfilled from within, so you're not like seeking these external validations. Like, of course, getting validated from other people is amazing, and we do need it from time to time, and we can have that. But getting that from yourself is so necessary. And when you find that from within, you can also recognize like toxic situations so much quicker.
Absolutely, and human to human here. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's such a powerful and like wonderful experience to know that not only are you recognizing the parts of yourself that may have, let's say, needed these certain external factors from other people, and how you can get that naturally from yourself, but then noticing it from other people as well and being like, wow, that was me at some point, or like I feel for that, or sometimes it's like I don't feel for that at all, but vicariously I can look at you and be like, that's not for me, that's not it. And like I want to hear your thoughts about like toxic friends. Like, what's something you wish that you knew before like a toxic situation happened?
I feel like, oh, that's such a good question. I love when people pull shit back on me and I'm like, oh, now I have to think about it.
Hey, I'm the host here.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think something that I wish like I would know is that, one, it's okay to say no. It's okay to not it's okay not to like jive with everybody and vibe with everybody. Absolutely. And the more I have conversations just like this, the more I connect with people who make me feel so fulfilled and I feel like we're connecting on such a great level, the more I'm like, oh, that wasn't it. And that didn't have to be it. And I could have said no, and I could have walked away, or I could have said, I don't want you in my life. But being able to be exposed to such real people, such authentic conversations, such honesty and vulnerability makes me see that other shit and be like, oh, that was so different.
I completely feel that. And those are such good key points as well, because not only are you establishing your own boundaries through that, you're also understanding that, there's a word for this, but like, even though you may have the best intentions for someone and you may give your 100% to them, that might not always be their 100% or what they need. Like, people can decline your love and like affection or attention, and that's completely like fine. Because sometimes you like salt, sometimes you like sugar. sometimes you like both, and like, everyone's allowed to have like their like preference.
Yeah. And something that I would want to know too is just like to listen to that inner gut, that inner instinct that's inside that says, I didn't like that, or like, that wasn't right. And actually know that that's at my core. And that's to be listened to.
Yes, pure intuition, and that's usually
Yeah.
most of the time. Like I usually get emails from because I do the skin and lip gossip hotline on my channel too, where like I get advice or people ask me for advice kind of thing through my DMs or like my email, and I'll get emails from really loyal Royal Mafia members. So like if they're listening to this podcast, like, hey, make sure y'all follow my girl Jessica McDonald. She's doing her thing. But I usually get emails about people who are just like figuring out themselves and learning their different boundaries and what they want to know. And I feel like one of the major arcs of that is I didn't know something wasn't okay because I was taught from a young age that like this was the way to live, essentially. So like, for example, like someone's parents used to yell at them for everything. So their natural reaction to confrontation was to yell about it. And that's something they had to learn throughout like their relationships and figuring out right from wrong. And I love replying to those emails and being like, I can't answer this for you. And I can give you my advice, but I can't tell you how to live your life because you need to learn these lessons in your own manner, because I can give you the blueprint to how I figured it out for myself. But maybe you need to yell at some more people before you get, slapped across the face. Or maybe you need to yell at more people before someone you really love gets genuinely hurt, and then you can learn from that. Or even vice versa, and just I don't know, I get so happy, and like I love when people start to figure out parts about themselves, whether it takes a long time or even a couple of minutes, because it's a lot to like self-reflect, not only on the things that you've done and could have done better, but knowing you can't hold yourself up to your past. And like I love this saying that you can only compare yourself to your past self and be better than who you were yesterday. You can't really compare yourself to anyone else. I can't compare myself to Michelle Obama, or I'd be really depressed. Like I'd be really sad. Like I'd just be like, wow, I don't have curves like that. Like I'd be sad, but like, I can only compare myself to like what I was yesterday. And that kind of stuff is what I feel like is really helpful.
Yeah. Oh my God. I couldn't agree more. Real fucking shit. No, 100%. I love it. Like I could just talk about this stuff for so long, and it's so true. And the fulfillment comes within ourselves. And I love your platform and just what you post. Thank and people so reaching out. And I just love, like, it's so amazing when people will message and say like, hey, I want your advice on this. And I've received a few messages like that, and it just makes my heart explode.
Heart melts, right? I'm like, I don't even remember what I ate for breakfast this morning, and you want me to help you with your life. That's crazy. Like it makes you feel I feel like at a more toxic point in my life, like I want to say maybe like early middle school, like figuring out life, I thought about those things as power trips, because it was like, I have all this, like this person's going to listen to me word for word. But like, as I've grown and as I've learned through like my other experiences, like, even when it comes to giving advice, I know it's such a privilege to feel to know that some people rely on you for some form of guidance because either they're lacking or they want a really strong opinion. And just not only that, but that they feel comfortable enough to hear another opinion, be open to it, and knowing that like what you say could really change the way they view a certain situation, or how they get themselves out of something really dangerous, or like something really toxic, or something really good, even because even the good stuff can be bad for you at a certain point.
Yes. Oh my God. I had this whole conversation with my therapist about how like I'll go on like a what if train of like, what if this happens and then this and then this. And like it's very common to go on a bad what if train, but my good what if train is just as dangerous. I will literally be like, okay, so like I went on one date with someone. I'm like, okay, so like what if we like keep seeing each other, we really like each other, and then we like end up staying together, and then we like live together, and then we like have a family, and I'm like, Jessica.
Play footsies from the Zoom call.
I'm like, you need to settle down. The thing that I love so much about what we're doing is normalizing these human emotions and these experiences and these feelings, because knowing that it's okay and accepting that is the start to any sort of change.
Oh, absolutely. What do they say during those AA meetings? The first step to recovery is acceptance. Right? That's like, I haven't been, but like I support anyone that's getting help on that. I just like those are the best parts though. Like you said, I totally definitely agree.
Yeah, 100%. And I just love how open you are with everything. And now I want to talk about pansexuality and like
Woo,
your
girl.
experience, your journey when you kind of discovered this. If you feel, do you feel you have to identify yourself as pan, or do you feel like you're like, I just love everybody, and like, why is it a label thing?
So I feel like I guess within like the Stonewall riots and the first like Pride parade and just like the LGBTQ community and our labels were only to give us a sense of not I feel like not only purpose but to feel included in something. The minute there's like a label on a certain thing, you're like, okay, I know what this is and I know what to identify with, I know what I want. However, I feel like the more we've advanced as a society, we've like as someone in the LGBT community myself, have come to realize that there's so many definitions and there's such a wide spectrum of different labels within it. So I guess for simplicity reasons, I identify as pansexual. I openly talk about that because I feel like it's not talked about enough, honestly. And then there's the whole debate between pansexuality and bisexuality. I feel like it's the same thing, if you ask me. There's a little bit of specificities behind it, but like I said, it's a spectrum, right? Like you're not really gonna pinpoint one pansexual to not be bisexual or not prefer. I prefer both. I prefer nothing. Like I prefer just being echo and echo effect and loving whoever I love because at the end of the day, if I happen to be with someone who identifies as a man, I look straight to someone else. If I'm with someone who identifies as a woman, then I look lesbian to someone else. And at the end of the day, everyone's gonna have a different viewpoint on you, essentially. And so I guess to explain it to others who may be a bit lost or a bit arrogant, ignorant, I talk about being pansexual. I explain it to them. I give them the full like dictionary definition. But on a regular note, like, I'm not gonna go to like Starbucks and they're like, oh, what's your name? And I'm like, pansexual. Like, I'm just gonna say echo, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't remember the other question you asked me.
I feel like that was
That was pretty
so,
good. Okay.
yeah, that was great. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
thank
I
you.
love that. And I feel like it's so important to kind of it's just it all comes back to your view on yourself and
Yeah.
who you are and who you care to be. And I love that you kind of, you have your definition, you'll tell people when they ask, but you're like, I love who I love, and that's just me, and I'm Echo and I'm gonna do my thing.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like it's so funny because like I have a bit of like a mini story time.
Yeah.
Um, I just remember being in like because like in Ubers or lifts like that I take, I always try to talk to the drivers because I'm like, you know what, like I know you're bored and I'm entertaining, so like you know what I mean, like we'll kiki you for a little bit. And like I can tell when some of them are going to be a little homophobic, so I always try to mention it. Like I exaggerate the fact that I have like a wonderful girlfriend and stuff. So yeah, my partner, I said that for a majority. Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, does he have a job? No, she actually has a job. And the other ones would be really great about it. Oh my gosh, yeah, tell me about a girl that like ask more questions and be actually super polite about it. And others will just stop talking the whole ride,
Wow.
and just like sit in like silence. I'm like, wow, like my sexuality pays your bills because baby, you real quiet all of a sudden. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and before it used to bother me a lot because I was like, damn, like why can nobody just like live the way they want to live? But then I realized how much power I have just by saying like what I am and how
Yeah.
quickly it shuts someone up or how quickly it makes someone feel so uncomfortable. And I've always just wondered about those who feel uncomfortable by other people's sexualities as if it affects them on a personal
Yeah.
mental like level. Like no one's saying you have to agree with it, baby. Do what you do. I don't like khakis, but if you like khakis, you like khakis. Like, you know what I mean? But I'm not gonna go to you and be like, change into skinny jeans or you're not valid. Like that's weird. And that's the same thing. That's the same way I feel about sexuality. Like how are you gonna come to me, and talk about everything you believe in and push your beliefs onto me? But baby, like I like skinny jeans and you don't, and that's okay. Like I like women, I like men, I like anyone who identifies as whoever they want to be, as long as they're a kind person and I'm attracted to them. Like it's kind of the same thing for me.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
yeah.
I fucking love that. I love because also you're not pushing your beliefs on someone else too. You're just opening up, you're being you so unapologetically. And
Yeah.
that is also, I love that, especially in the scenario where they get uncomfortable because it's
Oh
like,
my
oh, you know what you're doing? You're opening a bit of a door for them to be like, oh, like these people, one, exist, I hope they know that, but are openly going to talk about it. And like whatever beliefs they have, you being so comfortable being like, oh yeah, my girlfriend, blah, 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 or like having the sexuality conversation come up, it's gonna shift their trajectory of what they're thinking, even a little bit. Even if they think, oh, weird, and they shut down the conversation, you still showed them that you're a person like everybody else and you can have this open conversation, and you challenge their everyday norm, which is awesome.
Absolutely. And I do have this preface real quick that like I feel like over the years, because like I used to be a really shy kid, like believe it or not, like I hated talking. I was always like crying, like very emotional. Like I don't want to talk to nobody. Don't look at me weird. I will start crying. Like that was me. Like so really emotional growing up. And so I've learned and acquired the skills to be a little more extroverted and a little bit more open. And I mentioned those things because I feel like it's also a big privilege to be able to be so open about it. And I still have family members who like talk in the WhatsApp group chats about how much they hate the fact that I am so open about it on my channel and to the public and stuff like that. And I've mentioned it in a couple other videos on my channel that like it not only bothered me, but it was kind of weird for me to experience that. But I feel like something I didn't really mention was that it was a privilege as well. Because like not many people can be in safe environments and talk about who they are and who they want to be. And I do want to take a moment to acknowledge that, because I'm thankfully in a space where even though there's a bit of like hypocrisy and a little bit of judgment here and there, it's definitely not as worse as I know some other people have experienced it. And I've been thankful enough to like, let's say like not be kicked out of my house and not be forced to like live my life in a completely different manner because of like how I present myself and stuff like that. So I do want to like take a moment to address that, because like there's so many like queer kids. I just like so many gabies. I just want to hug and like take in and adopt, and just like if I had a whole kingdom, everyone would just be invited, which is kind of like why I made my channel, you know, like so that even if they do have to be in the closet for a bit of time or not talk about it, they can come to the channel, come to the comments, be as vibrant, be as loud as they want, whether like they're queer or straight or whatever they want to be, because sometimes it's hard to be yourself ever, like in general.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just wanted to address that really quickly, because I know there's some other people who wouldn't be able to do that even if they really wanted to.
Yeah, 100%. And it is really amazing to sit and say it is an incredible privilege to be able to be who I am, express that openly, hold a space for people to do the same. And it's so heartbreaking to think about people who don't have that same privilege and aren't lucky enough to be able to be themselves. And I think it's so amazing to use that and say like, it's okay to be who you are, and allow those people to see that like they don't need to hide themselves, especially, well, and of course, if you're in a dangerous situation, you're going to, you need to be in your survival instincts, got to kick in, right? But to be able to have some sort of space to go to be like, oh my God, look at this amazing woman being herself, doing her thing, is just, it can be an escape, right? And it can be a somewhere that, I think it's important to model what is most authentic to us and show that others can do the same.
Oh, absolutely. Like, yeah, like you took words out of my mouth. Like, honestly, yeah.
I love this. Okay, well, if no one's checked out Echo Effect on fucking YouTube during this entire conversation, you must, on Instagram as well.
Oh, thank you so much.
Of course. Is there any other social medias you want to shout out?
Honestly, no, you did a wonderful job. I want to thank you so much for having me on your podcast. If you all are coming to my page from Jessica's Human to Human podcast, tell me Jessica sent you in the comments below. I'd love to hear all your human to human energies come through. Join the Royal Mafia, become a Royal Mafia member today. It's free $99, just like this podcast is free $99.
Free
Listen
$99.
to it. And happy Black History Month to all my Black folk out there. And everyone else who needs a little bit of love. I'm sending love to everyone in this really lonely time. I hope everyone's staying safe, washing their hands. And instead of going out, maybe you should listen to Jessica's podcast for the rest of the day. Yeah.
Thank you, Echo. Thank you for everything you do and for coming on here and just being so authentically you. It is so amazing to have you on and just chat about this. I can't wait to see how we collaborate in the future. Like, I can't believe it took us this long to like get back together from high school.
Oh my God. Right. But that's the universe, baby. So people, I watched you dance and sashay and everything from like show choir, and now we're here creating content together. Like, I know our like past teachers are like quaking. They're like, oh my God, like we did that. Like,
Oh my God, yes. Oh, I would be such a proud teacher from ESA to see these creations. So Echo and I
right?
were in show choir together in grade 10. I mean, I was gonna say if you could believe it, but I feel like you can. We're both
Yeah,
very
you can't
loud.
believe it.
Oh my God. Well, this was amazing. I'm so excited to chat again soon.
Oh, absolutely. It'll be real soon too. That collab is coming very, very soon. So I'll give you the layout and printout for all of that.
Oh my God, perfect.
But yeah, thank you so much. Like I did miss you. I'm glad
I
we're
know.
connected again.
I know, I miss your energy.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Ensure you check out Echo Effect on YouTube and on Instagram, and take this opportunity to educate yourself on Black Lives Matter, on the Black community, on just how important it is to become aware of just all of the issues surrounding racism in our world, and start, educating ourselves so we can be advocates and we can make change. Even in the smallest ways, they do make a difference. And without those small steps that we can all take, we're not going to be able to make huge global change. So thank you for listening. I really, really enjoyed chatting with Echo and reconnecting from high school. It was so much fun. Make sure you follow me on Instagram at Jessica J. McDonald. Make sure you follow at Human to Human Pod. Subscribe so you know when episodes come out every Tuesday. And I wanted to take this opportunity to thank our sponsor, Pick My Brain. I mean, while we're on the topic of inclusive and incredible communities, seriously, Pick My Brain is one of them. Let's throw that in there. Pick My Brain just is full of incredible, open-minded, heartwarming people who all have such crazy different experiences in life. And on Pick My Brain, you can go and you can book these people. You can read all about them on their profiles. You can book them for calls. You can have conversations with them. You can book them for different sessions. They have really unique offers out there. And if you're someone who's a creative or wants to put yourself out there and make yourself available, whether to share knowledge or something creative and unique, make sure you start your own Pick My Brain profile, become a brain, and let the world know that you're available to be booked. And it's a really cool thing. It's very unique. It's like a really sick combination of like Facebook and Shopify and LinkedIn, but in like this new economy insane way. So make sure you go check out pickmybrain.world, browse the brains, feel free to book myself on there, create your own profile, become a brain, and just expose yourself to more awesome people. Who wouldn't want to do that? So check that out. Check Echo out and check myself out as well. Thanks for being here, and I will see you on Tuesday for a really exciting episode. If you have not heard of the band Ivy Tide, you're about to.